single tablespoon can quietly change the way your body handles fat, and almost no one pays attention to it until it is too late. Not a workout, not a strict diet, just one simple trigger that sends a signal deep inside your body where fat is actually controlled. This is where things start to get interesting, because fat loss is not just about burning calories, it is about communication inside your body. And when that communication is wrong, your body holds on to fat no matter how hard you try. That is why so many people feel stuck. They eat less, they move more, yet nothing changes. It feels frustrating, confusing, and sometimes even unfair. But there is a hidden reason behind it, and it has everything to do with signals your body is constantly sending and receiving. Inside your body, fat cells are not just sitting there waiting to be burned. They are active. They respond to hormones, to nutrients, and to tiny chemical messages that tell them what to do: store fat or release it, grow or shrink. These decisions are not random. They follow very specific instructions, and one small daily habit can influence those instructions more than most people realize. This is where that 1 tablespoon comes in. It may look simple, almost too simple, but the effect it creates inside your body can be powerful when used the right way. The problem is most people either ignore it or use it at the wrong time, in the wrong way, or with the wrong expectations, and because of that, they never see results. Here is something rarely talked about. Your body is always choosing between storing fat and burning fat, but it cannot do both at the same time efficiently. That choice is controlled by signals, especially one key factor that decides everything behind the scenes. When that signal is high, your body locks fat in place. When it is low, your body finally starts releasing fat. This shift can begin faster than most people expect, sometimes within minutes at a cellular level, even though visible results take longer. That is the part most videos never explain clearly. They focus on what you should do, but not why it works or why it fails. And without understanding the why, it becomes easy to quit too early or follow the wrong approach. Another overlooked detail is timing. The same exact thing can either help your body burn fat or push it to store more, depending on when and how you use it. This is why two people can follow similar routines and get completely different results. One sees progress, the other sees nothing. It is not always about effort, it is about signals. And once you understand how to control those signals, everything starts to make more sense. Your body stops feeling like an enemy and starts responding in a predictable way. There is also a reason why this approach feels almost invisible at first. It does not rely on extreme effort or sudden changes. Instead, it works quietly in the background, adjusting how your body reacts to food and energy. That is why many people overlook it. They expect something dramatic, something intense, something that feels hard. But sometimes the most powerful changes come from the simplest actions repeated consistently, and that is exactly what makes this so effective when done correctly. In this video, you are going to learn what this 1 tablespoon really is, how it interacts with your body, and why it can influence fat cells at a deeper level than most common methods. You will understand the actual mechanism behind it in simple terms without confusion or complicated science. You will also learn why most people use it the wrong way and what small adjustments can completely change the outcome. Most importantly, you will see how this fits into the bigger picture of fat loss, so you are not just following random advice, but actually understanding what your body needs. There is a moment later in this video where everything will connect, where the idea of signals, timing, and fat storage will become clear in a way that most people never realize. That part is important because it changes how you look at weight loss completely. It is no longer about forcing your body, it is about guiding it. And once that shift happens, progress becomes easier and more consistent. So stay with me until the end, because missing one small detail can be the difference between seeing results and staying stuck in the same cycle. The goal here is not just to give you information, but to give you clarity that you can actually use in your daily life without confusion. And when you understand this properly, Even small actions can start creating noticeable changes over time. Welcome to the channel, where simple health truths are explained in a way that actually makes sense. If you want to understand your body better and stop guessing what works, make sure to subscribe and be part of this journey towards smarter, simpler fat loss. Everyone grows up hearing the same rule: eat less and move more, and fat will disappear. But the reality inside the body does not work that simply. Because your body is not a calculator that just subtracts calories and gives you results. It is a system that protects you, adapts to you, and sometimes even works against you when it senses the wrong conditions. And that is why people can follow strict diets, cut down their meals, push themselves to exercise, and still see little to no change, which feels confusing and frustrating because the effort is there, but the outcome is missing. And this gap between effort and result is where most people lose motivation, not because they are lazy, but because they are following an incomplete idea. And the truth is, your body does not burn fat just because you want it to. It burns fat only when it receives the right internal signals that tell it it is safe to release stored energy. And without those signals, your body holds on to fat as a form of protection, even if you are eating less. And this is the part that is rarely explained clearly. Fat loss is not controlled by effort alone. It is controlled by signals, signals created by hormones, by blood sugar levels, by the timing of your meals, and by small daily habits that either push your body towards storing fat or releasing it. And when those signals are not aligned, your body resists change no matter how hard you try, which is why some people eat very little and still struggle, while others seem to eat more and still stay lean, because the difference is not just what they eat, it is how their body responds to it internally. And once you start to see fat loss this way, things begin to make more sense, because it explains why effort alone is not enough and why controlling the internal environment of your body matters more than just counting calories. This leads to a deeper understanding of what fat actually is and how it behaves, because fat cells are not just passive storage units sitting under your skin doing nothing. They are active parts of your body that are constantly listening, reacting, and adjusting based on the signals they receive. And these signals come from hormones like insulin and others that act like messengers, telling your fat cells when to store energy and when to release it. And if the message says store, fat stays locked in. But if the message says release, fat begins to break down and be used for energy. And this process is happening all the time, every single day, whether you are aware of it or not. And the key to fat loss is not forcing your body, but guiding these signals in the right direction. Because when the right signal is sent, your fat cells respond naturally by releasing stored fat without resistance, without struggle. And this is where the idea of a small change creating a big impact starts to become real, because even a simple daily habit can shift these signals in a meaningful way. And when that shift happens consistently, your body slowly transitions from a fat storing mode to a fat burning mode. And that transition is what most people are actually trying to achieve without realizing it. And this is exactly where the role of 1 tablespoon begins to stand out, not as a magic solution, but as a simple tool that influences the signals your body depends on. And at first, it may sound too small to matter, just 1 tablespoon, something so simple that it is easy to ignore. But inside the body, even small inputs can create noticeable changes if they affect the right pathway. And this particular tablespoon works by influencing one of the most important factors in fat storage and fat release, which is how your body handles blood sugar and insulin. Because every time you eat, your blood sugar rises, and your body releases insulin to manage that rise. And insulin plays a key role in deciding whether your body stores fat or burns it. When insulin is high, your body is more likely to store fat. And when insulin is lower and stable, your body finds it easier to release stored fat. And this is why controlling insulin spikes becomes so important, not in a complicated way, but in a simple, consistent way that your body can respond to over time. This tablespoon, when used correctly, helps smooth out those spikes. It slows down the sudden rise in blood sugar after meals. It improves how your body responds to to the food you eat, and it creates a more stable internal environment where fat release becomes easier. And this is not about extreme changes or drastic restrictions. It is about a small adjustment that helps your body function in a more balanced way. And when that balance improves, your body no longer feels the need to hold on to fat as tightly as before. And this is where the real shift begins. Not from force, but from alignment, where your body starts to follow a different set of instructions. It is important to understand that when people say it can reprogram fat cells, it does not mean an instant transformation where fat disappears overnight, because the body does not work like that. Instead, it means changing the signals that your body receives on a regular basis, signals that guide its behavior over time. And when those signals change, your body gradually adjusts its response. It starts storing less and releasing more. It becomes more efficient in using energy. And this shift may begin internally before you see it externally, which is why patience and consistency become important, because the process starts at a level you cannot see immediately, but it builds over time into visible results. When broken down simply, this process is about reducing the signals that tell your body to store fat and increasing the signals that tell it to burn fat. And this does not require extreme effort or constant struggle. It requires understanding how your body works and giving it the right cues, because once those cues are in place, your body does most of the work on its own. And this is what makes the approach feel different from traditional methods. It is not about pushing harder, it is about guiding smarter. And the idea becomes clear: same body, different instructions. And when the instructions change, the outcome changes as well. Not instantly, but steadily, in a way that feels more natural and more sustainable over time. And this is where the real power of small, consistent habits begins to show. Not in dramatic moments, but in gradual shifts that lead to lasting change. Most people do not fail because the method does not work. They fail because they use it in a way that sends mixed signals to the body, and the body responds to signals with precision, not intention, which means it does not care how motivated you feel or how badly you want results. It only responds to what you do repeatedly. And when you do it, and this is where things start to go wrong for many people without them even realizing it, because they treat a simple tool like this as something optional or random, something they try once or twice and then forget, or they use it at different times every day without any pattern. And when there is no pattern, the body does not adapt, it stays confused, it stays defensive, and it continues doing what it was already doing, which is holding on to fat. And this creates the illusion that nothing is working, when in reality, the signals are just not consistent enough to create a change. And consistency is not just about doing something every day, it is about doing it in a way that your body can recognize and respond to over time. Because your body learns through repetition, not through occasional effort. And when that repetition is missing, progress slows down or stops completely. Another common mistake is timing. And timing plays a bigger role than most people expect, because your body behaves differently at different times of the day and in response to different situations. And if this tablespoon is used at the wrong time, it may not create the effect you are looking for. Not because it does not work, but because the signal it sends is not aligned with what your body needs at that moment. And this is why some people say it works while others say it does nothing, because they are not using it under the same conditions. And when timing is off, the signal becomes weaker, less effective, and sometimes almost invisible. And this leads to frustration because the effort feels wasted, even though the problem is not the method itself, but the way it is being applied. There is also the issue of expectations, and this is where many people lose patience too early, because they expect to see visible changes almost immediately. And when that does not happen, they assume it is not working and stop before the process has a chance to build. And this expectation comes from the idea that fat loss should be fast and dramatic, But the body does not operate like that. It changes gradually, especially when the approach is based on improving internal signals rather than forcing external changes. And when you expect instant results from a process that works internally first, you end up quitting too soon. And this cycle repeats again and again, trying something new, stopping too early, and never giving the body enough time to respond fully. The deeper insight here is simple but often ignored. Timing and consistency matter more than the ingredient itself, because even the most effective tool will not work if it is used randomly or without structure. And on the other hand, a simple tool can become powerful when it is used in the right way at the right time and with enough consistency for the body to adapt. And this shifts the focus away from searching for something new and toward using what you already have more effectively. And once this understanding becomes clear, the approach becomes less about experimenting and more about following a simple pattern that your body can recognize and respond to. Using it properly does not require complexity, it requires clarity and repetition. And the simplest way to create a consistent signal is to take 1 tablespoon before meals or in the morning, because these moments are when your body is most responsive to changes in how it handles food and energy. And by doing this regularly, you begin to influence how your body reacts to what you eat throughout the day. Not in a dramatic way, but in a subtle and steady way that builds over time. And this is where the real shift begins, not from intensity, but from consistency. Because when the same signal is sent again and again under similar conditions, the body starts to adjust its behavior. It starts to expect that signal, and it begins to respond more efficiently. Keeping it practical is important because the simpler the routine, the easier it is to follow. And the easier it is to follow, the more consistent it becomes. And consistency is what creates results in this case, not perfection. Because trying to do everything perfectly often leads to frustration and burnout, while focusing on one simple habit that you can repeat daily creates a stable foundation that your body can build on. And this is why the idea of consistency over perfection becomes so powerful, because it removes pressure and replaces it with a manageable routine that fits into your daily life without stress. It is not about doing more or adding more steps or making your routine complicated. It is about sending the right signal daily in a way that your body can understand. And once that signal becomes consistent, your body starts to shift gradually. It begins to favor fat release over fat storage. It becomes more balanced in how it handles energy. And these changes may not feel dramatic in the beginning, but they create a direction. And direction matters more than speed, because once you are moving in the right direction, progress becomes more reliable and more sustainable over time. At the same time, it is important to stay grounded in reality and understand what this process can and cannot do, because expecting fat to disappear in minutes sets the wrong expectation and leads to disappointment. And while certain internal changes can begin quickly, visible fat loss takes time, because the body needs to go through a series of adjustments before those changes become noticeable. And these adjustments happen at a level you cannot see immediately, in how your body manages energy, how it responds to food, and how it regulates the signals that control fat storage and fat release. So while you may not see fat melting instantly, the process can begin internally much sooner than you expect. And this is where patience becomes important, not as a struggle, but as an understanding that your body is working in the background, making small changes that build over time. And these changes accumulate day by day, creating a gradual shift that eventually becomes visible. And this is why focusing only on immediate results can be misleading, because it ignores the internal progress that is happening first. The key idea is simple: fat loss starts with signals, and results follow with time. And when the signals are consistent and aligned with what your body needs, the process becomes smoother and more predictable. And instead of feeling like you are constantly fighting your body, it starts to feel like your body is working with you, responding to the patterns you create. And this shift changes not only the outcome, but also the experience, making it less frustrating and more manageable because you are no longer relying on force or extreme effort. You are relying on understanding and consistency. And that creates a completely different path forward where small daily actions begin to shape long term results without the constant need for drastic changes or unsustainable routines. It's not just a tablespoon. It's a signal. And that one small signal can quietly change the direction your body has been following for years. Because once your body understands what to do, everything starts to feel easier, not forced, not confusing, just clear and steady. And that is the difference most people never experience because they keep focusing on doing more instead of sending the right message. But when your body gets the right signal, it finally starts working with you, not against you. And that is when real change begins to happen. Not in extreme moments, but in small daily shifts that build into something powerful over time. So if this helped you see fat loss in a simpler and smarter way, take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more simple health truths that actually make sense, and share this with someone who feels stuck and needs a clearer path. Because sometimes one small idea can change everything.